That's good. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yep. Let's start tonight's Personnel and Finance Committee meeting at 7 o'clock from the confines of our offices at home. Let's do roll call.
All right. We have Mayor Badeau.
Here.
City Administrator Jennifer Bergman.
Here.
Agent from Weisinger Engel Insurance, James.
Yes. Here.
Alderman Kevin Stunick.
I am present.
Police Chief Corky McQuiston.
Here.
Community Development Director Chansky.
Here.
HR Director Schubert.
Here.
And Alderman Erickson.
Present.
And then we do have a caller that I'm not sure who that is yet. If they would want to say their name, that would be great.
Teresa Burke with the Dispatch.
All right, sounds good.
All right, with that said, we have 5 agenda items tonight. The first one is approval of the bills. Connie, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to note.
Nothing to note. So I would take a motion to approve the bills.
So moved. Erickson.
Second by me. The next agenda item is number 2, a contract for inspection services. Connie, you want to explain that?
Actually, I'll let Community Development Director Chansky explain.
That's perfect.
So Chuck retired, kind of this discussion, the continuation of the discussion we've been having since the city was notified of Chuck's retirement. One of the largest impacts of his retirement is that it leaves the city without a qualified individual to administer the city's inspections only delegation with the state of Minnesota. This lets us do the inspection on all state projects. Right now in the city, we have 2 ongoing. Those are Harrison Elementary and Brainerd High School. And we have another 3, potentially 4, ready to go online this summer. As part, when Chuck retired, the city council entered into a phased retirement option or PRO agreement with him to administer the city's delegation agreement until a replacement could be found. And then per council's direction, we did develop and disseminate a request for proposal for inspection services. We received 1 response that came from Cities to Lakes Inspection Services. Owner is Scott Sadusky, who was actually a former building inspector for the city of Brainerd. We did have, it was sent off to, I think, 6 different entities it was sent to that we identified that could potentially provide these services. One other company, they did express interest in giving a quote or a response to the city. I actually sat down with their president, Scott, and kind of go over what we needed. However, as Scott was hoping that they would also be able to do the plan review for all the school projects. Just the state is doing. They have a delegation to, it's very rare, but they have a delegation to as well. However, after they started, they asked ICS, who is ISD 181's project managers, what those plans for Lowell, Garfield, and Riverside were already at the state being reviewed, so they wouldn't be able to get that fee. And at that point, MinSpec determined that they felt they wouldn't be able to give a competitive offer due to the fact that they are out of Waconia, and the distance would just make it too expensive for them. So the one we had was from Cities Lake Inspection Services, was from Scott Sadusky. He proposes a fee structure that includes 75% of the building permit fee and plan review fee for all state projects. We'd also charge $95 an hour for attendance of necessary meetings and a separate negotiated hourly fee for non-state inspections if needed. I don't think we would need to tap into that with my inspection staff. Based off of the permit fees for Harrison Elementary, it's the closest thing I could get to what I believe Lowell, Garfield, and Riverside will be, what their permit fees will be. It's looking like the total fees for Riverside, Garfield. For his 75% will be no less than $100,000. The city again would still keep 25% of that fee that we take in. It's only the building permit fee and the plan review fee, not any other fees like SAC and WAC or anything like that. Why this does seem a pretty high amount, a couple things to keep in mind and why we think going with Mr. Sadusky is the best alternative. One is that we still will keep some of our fees, so it's not a complete loss. If the state of Minnesota, if Dolly takes it over, we lose all of those fees. And actually the chances of getting our inspection delegation back from them is slim. Also, it would give building official Darren Deseth opportunity and that experience. Having talked with Scott, he's very interested and looking forward to being able to work with Darren on these projects as well, which would give Darren the necessary experience he needs to get his delegation in about 2 years. And the other thing to keep in mind as well is fees. He gets paid the permit fee, and that's for the entirety of the project. Most projects we're looking at 18 to 24 months minimum on these projects, so that covers the entirety of the project. Other thing I wanted to point out is Chuck did submit a proposal which would amend his PRO agreement and extend it through December 31, 2021. I did attach that. And what he was proposing is continuing his current agreement, but only to do inspections of Harrison and Brainerd High School. However, after looking at the options, talking with Scott, talking with Chuck, also with the state, we believe that it would be much more cost-effective, efficient, and make the Department of Labor industry much more at ease if we just contracted with one individual. And I talked to Scott after I submitted this, and one thing that Scott discussed with Scott is in his proposal, he talks about the 75% of permit fees. My question to him was, well, Harrison Elementary and Brainerd High School, those are projects as permits have already been given out. They are projects that are already underway. Harrison's about halfway done. The high school is about a third of the way done. How would he account for those? Is he going to ask for a prorated from the permit fee? And what he said for that, for any inspections done for the high school, he would just go to his $95 an hour, and that is door to door. So from his office, which is his home. So it includes the windshield time. He lives in I think it's Merrifield, so he's only about miles from town. And so with that in mind, he ends up being cheaper than Chuck as well. Chuck's PRO agreement accounts for $125 an hour plus $50 a week for a travel stipend. So does what we were looking for would be to accept the RFP response from cities services and direct staff to enter into necessary negotiations and develop a contract for services agreement to be approved by this council. Any questions?
I do have a question, Dave. This is Kevin. And then we wouldn't be doing anything with Chuck anymore?
No. So this would essentially end our agreement with Chuck. One thing I spoke with Scott last Thursday afternoon. One thing that he told me interest in, and he's worked with Chuck for a long time, especially when workers, when the time that Scott was with the city, and he actually said he intends on calling Chuck because he would actually like to hire Chuck himself.
Okay. And you're comfortable with this proposal as far as going with City of Lakes and Scott?
I am.
Okay. I don't have any other further questions. Tad or anybody else?
You're muted, Tad.
Turn on your mic, Tad. There you go.
Thanks, David, Kevin. No, Kevin, you asked basically the question I had, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So I'll make the motion to accept the RFP response from Cities to Lake Inspection Services and to direct staff to negotiate and develop a contract for services to be approved by the council.
I guess I'll second that. Any other comments or questions? With that being said, we'll go to item number 3, League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust.
And Mr. Chair, this is Jennifer. I'm wondering if we could do a roll call vote on that?
Oh yeah, that's my fault. I'm new at this.
Erickson,
Yes.
Sunick.
Yes.
And that's all, because Dave, you're the mayor now, so
Yeah,
you do not
just-
vote.
I just wanted to note that you did not vote on the first item as well.
So for the approval of bills, let's do roll call for that. Erickson,
Yes.
Sunick.
Yes.
All right. So now we're on to item number 3, which is the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust premium renewal for March of 2020 to February of 2021. And we do have our insurance agents, Kelly and Jim, on the phone with us as well. So I would let them take it over.
Yeah, this is Jim Sadomka, and we have the renewal. I don't know if you can pull that up, but it's with the League of Minnesota Cities, and they were seems like a very fair renewal. The premium did go up slightly, but we also added several exposure changes, including the substation, and I think there was 12 new vehicles and et cetera. But there's a slight increase. There's also a quote on there for $1 million umbrella excess liability coverage, which would be $35,000, which you currently are not purchasing at this time. $35,614.
Excuse me, just what would that offer for us? This is Connie. What would the additional premium offer us?
So that would be an additional $35,614 for an additional $1 million of liability above the vehicles and the general liability if someone were to sue the city.
And we have not done this in the past, Connie, or?
So is there a reason to add on that coverage?
You have $1 million coverage now, and it would just, there's a few different ways to look at it. One of them is that if an attorney gets a hold of it and does sue, they typically will try to sue for whatever the policy limits. So I would assume that's why you're opening yourself up. I mean, there's more protection, but it's also additional opportunity for them to come in. So it's totally up to you guys. We just want to make sure that we're accurate. So it's up to you guys if you want to move forward with that.
I guess I'm not real comfortable spending another $35,000, but I guess I'm one opinion. Tad?
Well, just a question.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, just a question for me. Again, I agree with you. I don't love the additional 35,000, but in the very next sentence, it talks about under the current policy, it does not, it excludes downstream liabilities on the dam. Would this umbrella include coverages on that? Or would...
No, there's a separate policy.
Okay.
Kelly, are you there? Kelly, are you available?
That's covered elsewhere.
Yes.
Is that okay? That's all. Thanks.
Thanks. Hello?
Oh, there's
Kelly,
Kelly.
are you called in too?
Yeah, I had a call in. I couldn't get logged in on the laptop. I mean, I'm logged in on the laptop now, but I couldn't get the audio to work. So I called into the 800 number, but I didn't know if anybody could hear me okay or not.
I just unmuted you, so yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, Connie. So yes, right now, the hydro dam does have a couple of separate policies to cover the dam itself. Right now, the League of Minnesota Cities has exclusion on the regular liability policy that does not cover, it's called downstream liability. So if you were to go ahead and purchase the excess liability coverage, then it would provide coverage for that specific area. Also, because the city has availability to decline or waive your rights for the statutory limits, which the city of Brainerd does. This policy would be able to extend over claims that aren't really necessarily covered, by the federal civil laws, which would be like employee discrimination claims or employee practices claims. So things that are regularly excluded under the general liability, this policy would step in and fill that gap of coverage.
So that additional $35,000 could be paid for by BPU, and we probably should get their opinion on it as well.
Right. And that's another thing that we've been working with the BPU is, they have a couple different exposures that wouldn't necessarily, benefit the city in having extra coverage for. So they have separate quotes going on for their side of things too, which would come out of their funding as well. So yeah, this is something that we would present to Todd and Scott as well, on the side.
This is
What I'm hearing, then maybe we don't have to take action on this tonight based on what BPU says, or what are we thinking?
Right. So with this, it's something that, just as an agent, being your insurance agents, it's something that we've always done every single year is just provide the option. So you guys, as council members can sit down and discuss. And I mean, it's not, something that we have to have a decision now and move forward on. It's been something that has been brought up many times in the past, year after year. Typically, I don't think we've ever had a policy for the city of Brainerd in excess for the years that we've offered it. But again, being your insurance agent, we just want to make sure we're doing our diligence and offering the coverage.
So would it be prudent to know that within 2 weeks, we could have a decision from BPU to have this on the agenda in the first meeting in May?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would be my recommendation at this point. Tad?
Yeah. So am I understanding that we could add the umbrella coverage later and at a separately and at a later time, but we could approve the premiums as presented here, the renewal?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Complete agreement. Ready with the motion if you are.
Yep, I'm ready for a motion.
All right. So I'll move to approve the insurance renewal from LMCIT for March 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2021.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Do you want me to add to that the discussion with BPU or just leave it as, I guess I'll leave it as is unless someone wants to
I'm gonna
amend
leave it and we'll just go with the extra $1 million rider next meeting.
Sounds good. It's noted.
All right with that.
It is noted.
Any other questions, discussion? Roll call?
Erickson,
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jim and Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connie.
We appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us to item number 4, which is the police sergeant promotion. Chief McQuiston.
Thank you, Alderman Stunek. So as you all probably recall, back at the council meeting on the 6th, we promoted Michael Kulzer from sergeant to lieutenant to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Chad Cleffman. So that in turn created a sergeant vacancy. Big thank you to the Administrator Bergman and HR Director Chris Schubert for organizing a Civil Service Commission meeting, so via WebEx. The commission was able to meet last Tuesday via WebEx, and they did certify the next 3 names on the current sergeant's eligibility list that we just established back in March. From that list, we selected Officer Paul Rozier, and so we're asking the council to promote Paul Rozier to sergeant effective April 21st, pursuant to the wages that we listed there, and that is pending a quick background check on Paul.
Any questions? I think that's a good move. He's a good guy. I entertain a motion if there's no questions.
I'll make the motion to approve promoting Police Officer Paul Rozier to Police Sergeant effective April 21st, contingent on a background investigation, and that his wage be set at step 3, and that's at $35.67 per hour.
I'll second that. I'm writing. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain roll call.
Erickson, yes.
Suppose I should unmute myself. Erickson and Stunek.
Yes.
And that was a yes from Erickson.
Just item number 5, which is our last item. Update regarding new seasonal / temporary hires for the summer.
Good evening. So typically the city of Brainerd hires around 70 part-time. This year is a little different. We've been focusing primarily on our interns and also on our paint crew. And while we were thinking about how we were going to do the process this year due to COVID-19, we asked our city attorney for a clarification. And he has advised us that we should be adding a provision on all of our conditional job offers, that the job offer is subject to the need of the job still being needed or filled. So we have added that condition. In addition to that, when he was reviewing our process, he also advised us that really the city council should be officially approving all of our hirings. Right now, we've just been doing the part-time and full-time, our regular employees. And so with his recommendation, we are asking the council now to start approving the seasonal and temporary hirings going forward as well. At this point, we have been able to complete a background check and get everything ready for one individual. His name is Isaiah Esposito. He is our engineering intern. We've offered him the job at $15 per hour with the tentative starting date of May 11th. He was our engineering aide or engineering intern last year as well. So he is not eligible for Sourcewell funding, but city engineer Sandy has told us he does a great job. He can hit the ground running, and he will really be able to help that department when we're able to go back to work. So the first recommendation, or the first thing we would ask the committee to do, is to approve the hiring of Isaiah Esposito.
Just a minute. Okay, I don't have any questions other than good luck pronouncing the name upstairs or wherever we're going. Isaiah Esposito. Okie dokie.
Got it.
Any questions or comments for anybody? I'll entertain a motion.
So I'll make the motion to approve the hiring of Isaiah Escobedo as our 2020 engineering intern at the rate of $15 per hour with the tentative starting date of May 11th, 2020. And then further to authorize staff to determine if the position will still be needed up to Isaiah's official hiring date for the position.
I'll second that.
All right.
Questions or comments? Hearing none. Connie, roll call, please.
Erickson,
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes. And I have a quick comment, Chris. I might need a little assistance with this one upstairs.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just the second part of the request was we also were requesting clarification if seasonal and temporary employee hiring recommendations should be included on the P&F agenda or the consent calendar as like an HR director's report in the future. Just wanting some clarification how you would like to see this going forward.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't put it on the consent calendar, but that's just my opinion.
That's fine with me as well.
You want a motion on that fact, Chris?
It probably wouldn't hurt, just so there's some official record going forward.
Okay, let's officially record it with a motion, Ted.
Yeah, I'll make that motion then to put the recommendations for part-time and seasonal hires on the consent calendar to the council.
I'll second it. Any comments or questions? If not, Connie, roll call, please.
Erickson,
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
All right.
That's, and the motion passes. Any other comments tonight? If not, we'll call this meeting to an end and go to the next one. Thank you, folks.
See you there.
Thank you.